I'm Luc Chamberland. I'm a filmmaker mainly in animation. I just finished a film at the film board about a comic artist called Seth. Seth is a Canadian cartoon artist that is doing graphic novels and illustration. He's been doing that since the early 90s, and he's a mix of autobiography and beautiful graphic images, influenced enormously by the 1930s New Yorker illustrators. And in the graphic novel world, I think he's one of the top 10 easily in the quality of storytelling and visual. It's really beautiful, and I wanted to take these visual and bring them to life in animation. Seth's Dominion is about the exploration of a comic artist, cartoonist, at the same time a reflection about life in general and how artistic taste could influence our life. I study here in Montreal at University Concordia in cinema, and I did a minor in animation, so I was trained as a filmmaker mainly and curious about animation. And then, but I draw extremely well. Anyway, I can draw. Extremely well. It's up to discussion, but I actually can draw. I can do image, and I can make a character look like he's living some emotion when I'm doing animation. So with that, I did the typical cliche of the backsack Canadian going around Europe. So I went for a trip for about 6 months, just, hitchhiking and sleeping under bridges and use hostel. And at the end, I tried to get a job in London. And in London, they sent me to Paris, where they were doing Asterix movies. And I ended up working on 3 Asterix movies in Paris. And that's in the late 80s, when I had hair on my head and I was young and beautiful. And anyway, and then with that, I worked with a lot of British who were working in Paris just for the Asterix movie. And then after that, they all went back to London and they invited me to work there as well. So I ended up at Emblemation in London. That was at Acton. Studio was in Acton for 5 years. I worked about 3 years on Five Goes West. London was a big school for animation, so I learned lots, everything I think I knew. And then after 15 years, I went back to Montreal, and voila, I'm at the NFB, and I just use all the knowledge I learned in London to apply to all kind of different style of film I've been doing. I'm doing commercial in Montreal as well, as much as working on different film here in the film board. I like doing all kind of different style. Live action, animation, combine of live action with animation. Different style, ink, aquarelle, computer, mixing all those different style. Puppet animation. I really enjoy simply making a great film with great emotion. Beside being a filmmaker who wants to do all kind of different style, I'm probably a little frustrated comic artist. I really like comics, and I was reading mainly only European comics. I would say Belgium and French. I was really influenced by these, and I really liked them. When I was living in England, I couldn't find very much European comics. There was only a lot of American and a bit of British comics, and so my reading changed quite a bit when I was in London. And suddenly, amongst these books of British comics and American comics, I find those graphic novel, and there was Seth. Seth, I thought was an American, but he's not an American. Seth is a Canadian cartoonist. And I discovered Seth in London, strangely enough. He's kind of between the American comic, a bit more brash and loud, and the European comic was a lot more subdued and more graphic. I think Seth is really in between. He is a entre deux, really in between. And this really appealed to me. And I was reading every book I can find of him, every publication, and I was very a big fan. And when I arrived in Canada, I just decided, maybe I could do a film with him. I really like his style, and I think there's a few artists that I would like to do a film with, and most of them are past now. They're gone. And I was regretting I'm not trying to do something with these artists. And then when I discovered Seth, I said, aha, I want to work with that guy. and I want to work with his style. And as we met, we started to explore a way of making the film to make it an unusual film about cartoonists, not your normal head-talking guy drawing on a table. I've been quite lucky. When I met with Seth, we started to talk about the projects and, the film I wanted to do with him, and it would be documentary live action mixed with animation. And then the more we talked, and then the more I realized that he started to talk to me about his different project. One of the projects he has, it was a puppet theater play that was quite original, and I said, oh, that could be interesting. That's never been done in a film that I know of, and maybe that could explore one facet of Seth. The other one is that he has a comic journal, a diary in cartoon that he actually keep for himself. It's not published, and now it's about 12 books now, at least, if it's not 15 books. And I had access to that. I can look at his personal journal in comics and discuss with him which one I can use to reveal more of him and make them in animation.
Somewhere on the prairies, at the edge of a little town, there is a closed-up drive-in theater. Closed 10 years. Next to that drive-in, you'll find a rusted-out kiddie carousel that no child has touched since 1973. And on the shores of Lake Huron, there is a cottage. And in that cottage, there is a back room. And in that back room, there is an old cardboard box filled with road maps, insurance folders, appliance pamphlets, mimeographed recipes, and black and white snapshots.
Something happened was absolutely fantastic. Seth wants to have carte blanche when he works on something. He just wants to do exactly what he wants. So he looked at me and he said, okay, I want to work like that when I work. So I imagine you would like to work like that too. So I give you carte blanche. I know what you're doing. I reassure him about my intention and what I wanted, and we discuss about what the film will be about. And when he was set with that, he just let me go. I keep sending him drawing from the internet, and he always accept whatever I did, but I did whatever I wanted with his material. So I impose a lecture on his book, because the advantage of comic book is that we can read the book at the speed that we want. We decide of the rhythm, and we hear the sound as much as we want. But now I impose a rhythm to this book and impose a sound and a music. That's my taste, of course. But he gave me carte blanche. I'm very, very lucky that he let me do exactly how I felt. And anyway, he told me he really likes it.